Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast today. Today we talk about the future of library. So our guest today is the director of Hyannis Library, Antonia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Before we jump into our conversation today, thanks for accept our invitation and come here. Okay, I know people are busy today. Everybody have a lot of stuff to do. Find the time to come to talk about some things that are complicated today. So before we start with our topic today, the feature of library. I wanna know more about you. Where are you from?
I am originally from just a little bit north of Toronto in Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm. It's a small city?
No, it's a little rural village, or it was smaller when I was born, but it's growing a little bit now. But yeah, it's in a rural area.
So you born and raised there?
Yes.
So until what age you moved to another country or city?
I went to college in Vermont, so that was basically when I started spending more time in the U.S.
Okay, so why choose Vermont to
graduate? To Bennington College. It was a liberal arts college that just really appealed to what I thought I was going to do with my life at the time.
Okay, what about high school?
No, I went to a large regional high school called Banting Memorial High School. So it was named after the scientist that, along with another, discovered insulin or isolated insulin.
Okay.
So
what did you study in college?
In college, I studied, originally I was going for theater, but I ended up doing a double major in biology and dance.
Biology and dance. So, did you graduate both of them, or just biology, or just dance?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Did you graduate from both of them?
Yeah. So I mean, I have one degree, but it is a double major. So.
How do you combine biology and dance?
It wasn't so much that I combined them. It was that I needed to exercise and feed all parts of my body. So I was a dancer already. I had actually kind of rejected doing anything having to do with science or math when I was in high school. I just wanted to do theater and dance. But then I got to college and I had to take a biology class. It was actually biology of the sexes to fulfill a diversity requirement in terms of study. And I encountered a professor who was just so excited by science and so interested in my contribution. And I ended up doing a lab when my partner dropped out, so I did it by myself. And she was really encouraging, and I just kind of fell in love with it all of a sudden. So I decided that I wanted to pursue that as well. And I took acting for a little while, and then I dropped that because I got tired of it and continued with the dance. And so I would exercise my mind, and then I would exercise my body, and exercise my creativity in both aspects, because you also need to be creative in order to do science.
Yeah.
So it was very fulfilling.
Okay. Yeah. So after college, you decided to stay in the United States?
Yeah. After college, I was in the States for a little bit, trying to decide what to do next. I would spend a lot of time on Martha's Vineyard, helping out various conservation groups. And then when I ultimately decided to go back to school, I went back to Canada and I did a master's degree in biology at Queen's University in Kingston.
Okay. How did you discover Martha's Vineyard?
Because friends of mine from college knew about it, and they went there after graduation, and so I just kind of went with them. And
do you like it?
Oh yes, it was lovely. I
enjoyed it a lot. Is it different from your hometown? Or
no, these are friends. These were friends that I met in Vermont.
Okay.
Edmonton, yeah.
So today you are a director of Hyannis Library. Okay, and I ask you something. What's the future of library?
What's the future of the libraries?
Yeah.
Well, that is constantly changing, to be honest. A lot of people think that because there's Google and the internet and digital media, that books aren't important and that people don't read. But that's actually not true, first of all. And second of all, we do so much more than that. We've really become a place for people to connect with information of all different kinds. It's not just literature. It's programming to, build your strengths in other areas, whether it's music or movement or different forms of literacy like digital literacy or nutritional literacy, language proficiency, meeting other moms, for example, in a mom's group or dad's group. You can interact with dogs at a reading to the companion animals, reading to the dogs program. There's just so many different programs that we offer that kind of allow people to connect with all sorts of different kind of information. And that's what librarians do, really. They are people that organize information and help connect other people to it. So that can take any kind of form.
Be like a regular traditional library that people used to go to read and look for books.
Oh, they still do that.
They still do that.
Absolutely.
Because today we have AI, we have a lot of things that I can put thousands of books on my computer, depending on their capacity, but we have a chat GPT, we have a lot of things. I don't know if people, these are my concerns. I don't know if people, they still going to library to do the same thing like 20 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah, they still do a lot of the same things, but they can do a lot more, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's a big challenge that you face today?
Well, one of the challenges is combating that idea that libraries aren't relevant, but our numbers show that we are. But also just making sure that you are adapting to what your community needs you to be. So they may not need you to be just a purveyor of other people's books. They may need you to be a place where they can create content and they can enrich themselves and empower themselves and their communities by learning new skills, encountering new people, being able to just sort of connect with other groups and have support and use the resources we have. So what kind of age you used to go to library? What
Senior?
kind of age?
Yeah. Young?
All ages. I mean, you have, let's say, mothers coming in with infants.
Yeah.
And they're sitting and reading to them. We have materials, board books for tiny, tiny children. We have story hours. So you can, even if your child is pre-literate or isn't speaking, being read to and hearing a story, all of that sort of builds the brain and reinforces a bond between parent and child, reinforces that reading and literature is important in life. Then, from there, the toddlers are all over the place, children who are then graduating to like chapter books or taking part in our, we have things like paint classes and we had a babysitting course just the other day. And then we often tend to lose them a little bit when they become teenagers.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of not where their interest lies. But, we do programs for teens and tweens as well. We had a nice successful series with the Cordial Eye Gallery. It was called a Tween Maker Night. And we had different artists come in and do different workshops. Like they had a recycled material fashion. They did Japanese printmaking. They did comic book creation. So there's ways of keeping up and keeping people's interest. Plus we have a young adult book collection and graphic novels and manga and that kind of thing too. That often will pull them in, although they don't necessarily want to hang out in the library. And for us, we don't really have a space for them right yet, so it's understandable.
Okay, how long you've been working in the library?
I've been here for 4 years. I started in
Hyannis
2020.
Library?
Yes, Hyannis.
Okay, so how did you move biology, dance, now inside the library?
Like that. Actually, what ended up happening was I realized I wasn't interested in academic science as much as I was interested in telling the story of science, explaining to people why what I was studying or what other people were studying was interesting. And so I ended up doing another master's degree in museum studies.
Yeah.
and I was focusing on sort of the curriculum of the non-school setting, how people learn outside of school. And I was interested in science in that respect. So I thought I might get a job at a zoo or a natural history museum or something to that effect. And then the man I was seeing at the time ended up getting a job here on Cape Cod. And I hadn't finished my degree yet. So I finished my degree and I joined him down here. And I applied at all sorts of places for museum jobs, and I didn't get anything. And I wandered into the Weldon Library in West Barnstable and found out that I still had an active clams card. Started volunteering and then just worked my way up. I got some jobs and I've worked in 5 of the libraries in Barnstable since
5 library?
Yeah, since 2002. Okay. Weldon, Marston's Mills Public Library, Sturgis Library, Cotuit Library, and now Hyannis Library.
Okay, and you like it?
I do.
What was the best side of working library?
Meeting all the people. I mean, it's just amazing. You just meet so many interesting people, whether they're patrons or whether they're people who come in and do presentations. And then also the history of the libraries is really interesting. All of them have really unique histories. You end up getting very involved with these individual personalities that sort of created the community that's here now. And it's just...
And what was the worst side to work in library?
When people are unnecessarily rude to you for no reason. That can be kind of hard.
What kind of rudeness?
Well, they get, usually if somebody is upset about something, like perhaps they have a fine for an overdue book and they are just really bent out of shape. And almost always it's something else that's bothering them.
How do you deal with that?
Politely. You have to just make sure that you're listening. And oftentimes by listening and engaging the person, really hearing them, they get it out of their system, and then you find a way to compromise or to find success for both people.
Sometimes not easy, like a human being. Sometimes we have our problem too. So when we meet another problem,
it can be hard.
Can be a big problem now. Okay, let's talk about Hyannis Library. Tell me more about Hyannis Library. You guys is a profit library or not?
The first?
Yeah, it's a non-profit.
Non-profit. Yes, we are non-profit. So all of the libraries in the town of Barnstable are non-profit. They're private non-profits.
Okay.
And we have a contract with the town of Barnstable to provide library services because Barnstable doesn't have a municipal library.
Okay.
Yes.
So where do you find the money to pay bill and the staff and everything?
Well, we get a certain amount of money from the town as part of that contract, and it differs depending on which library, because the calculation is based on population size of the village and programs and hours open and things like that. And the rest of the money that we need to operate, we have to get privately or through grants or foundations or fundraising events. So we do annual appeals. And we do fundraisers. For example, we participate in the Hydrangea Festival each summer, and that money goes to us. I write grants all the time. I just recently was awarded a grant from Mass Cultural Council, an operations grant for cultural organizations, which means that I get money that I can put for operating instead of for a specific program, which is wonderful. And it's a grant that renews each year for 5 years before I have to apply again, as long as I continue doing what I'm doing. So that's huge, to be able to have money that doesn't have restrictions on it like that. It's a lot of work. Fundraising is a huge part of my job.
Okay. So what's the challenge to manage Hyannis Library?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's
what kind of challenge you have been faced day by day to?
Well, the building is falling apart. That's
really?
big challenge. Yeah. And there's a really diverse crowd that comes in. We have a lot of people who come and spend a great part of their day at the library, people who may be experiencing homelessness or have mental health or substance use disorders. Sometimes they have a crisis in the library. And then you also have, people with children and all sorts of people. So trying to manage to make sure everybody, including my staff, is safe and that they get the help that they need if there's something going on. So we rely very heavily on a lot of our partners, the social service partners in the area as well, and the community impact unit. I think it's very important to not treat people who are having a crisis as though they were doing something criminal. So we try to be extremely compassionate. We try to have trauma-informed responses. But you also want to have people just be able to come in and hang out in the library and feel safe and be happy. So it can be challenging.
Okay.
Part of that is the layout of the library too, because it's a split level and the different circulation points can't see each other. So it's a little bit hard to manage that way.
So do you have a plan to build a new library?
Yes. So we're hoping to get started this late winter or very early spring 2025.
2025.
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of that is we have 3 wings to the library. There's the original house, which is the Ora Hinckley Memorial Wing. And then there's the middle section, which is the Eagleston Wing. And then there's the newer section. And by new, it's over 50 years old. And that's the Twombly section. And that's the part it's failing the most, obviously. So that part will come down and we will build a new 1-story, very flexible space there. But prior to doing that, we do have to rehabilitate the interior of that middle section because I plan on moving my staff into that area. Yeah. So we need upgraded mechanical systems, upgraded telecommunication systems, and we need to make sure that the basement is sealed and dry so we can use it for storage. And then I can take down the other part.
Okay. So when you have a problem like that, you have to report to basketball town. When you have a problem with
the building?
Yeah.
No, we own the building and the land. They don't have any part in that. They come and they inspect it and everything because that's what they do. It's a town.
Okay, let's talk about a new project. Okay, so you where you had to find the money to finance a new library?
Well, you're going to give me some, right? I didn't agree to do this except for $1 million. Again, like before, we look for multiple sources for this. So the biggest contributions will come from individual donors. And we have been fortunate to secure a donor who wishes to remain anonymous, who's given us already $3 million toward this project. But we are also meeting other potential donors, people, trying to create relationships with people who have a philanthropic interest in either in libraries or in helping the community in general. And because we do so many things, there are ways that we might appeal to people who have different types of interests in terms of their philanthropy. So some people are really fond of helping children. So, that's a huge part of what we do. There may be other people who are, want to help people who might be experiencing homelessness or something like that. And the things that we do for that community might appeal to them. So we're speaking to people who might be potential donors. We've also applied to different foundations. And I've gotten some grants from that. We've gotten funding from some local businesses and from some local banks. So it's a long process. It involves a lot of creating relationships with people so that they understand why it might be important for them to support it. But I feel very, very strongly about this. I basically live and breathe the mission of this library, and I'm determined.
Okay. So Hyannis Library have a long story. And the President Kennedy used to use one of the meeting room to...
Yes. So, the original library, was just that one building, that cedar shingled cottage in the front there on Main Street. And we have a book that was written by President Kennedy when he was, I think it was after he graduated. and he signed it to the library as someone, as someone who used its spaces as he was growing up. So yes, he was a user of the library, but again, it was a much smaller library at the time.
Yeah.
And he was a young man.
So Hyannis have a different community where people came from different parts of the world, like Brazil, Europe, Africa. So Hyannis Library develop a program to involve all community.
Well, that was something that I saw right away was going to be a challenge. And actually, I applied to get funds to hire bilingual library assistants because one of the first communities that I was wanted to try and reach better was the Brazilian community. But I don't have the tools for that. I don't speak Portuguese very well at all. Eu não falo português.
No, yeah.
So I got those funds and I hired two women who are from Brazil to help to be bilingual library assistants. And not only, can they translate or speak, but they are connected to the community in ways that I could never be. And they know how to reach the community, to let them know that we have services, to introduce them to what a library is if they're not that familiar with it coming from Brazil. And so but I was lucky enough that one of them is also speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
And so and then with my halting but passable French, we now can communicate in 4 languages. And once we started reaching that community, one of the librarians, Milvia Nogueira, I promoted her to my community programs librarian, and she started ESL classes along with another woman that worked for us who was working for the immigration, teaching classes in citizenship and had been an English tutor. So, we had this skill set and we started being able to provide this service for people. And then that attracted, of course, people from other countries as well. And we also have a Portuguese language collection. We also have lots of bilingual books in different languages in our children's section. It's quite hard to get books in other languages affordably here.
Which language exactly you talk about?
Well, for
Portuguese.
It's hard to get Portuguese. Yes,
French.
Spanish ones you can get quite easily. Yeah, but even French ones not that easily. But we also have Haitians, and getting works in Creole can be quite difficult. So I'm always asking people, if you're going to visit, bring some books back with you.
Okay, let's talk about that. So, library buy book, or the book that people use it to read or do some research is a donation, or you guys buy it? Or
we buy most of our collection because one of the popular things is new releases.
Yeah.
So that's an area where libraries are exactly the same as they've always been. You the new book, that's people want to read what's on the New York Times bestseller list or whatever. So we do purchase a lot of that. We do get donations from people, and we'll take a look at them, and if it's something that we feel is would make a critical part of our core collection, we'll add it. But usually what we end up doing is selling those books in our used bookstore, which is another income source for us, which is great. And I just wanted to add in terms of the programming, we have the ESL, but we have also done programs in Portuguese for Brazilians. It's not just like translated things. It's direct programming for that community, their interests. Okay. So, and that's something that I'd like to grow more. I'd like to hear from the community, what would you like? And not just provide sort of a translation of something we're doing, but a program that you really want from your community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's a community that you have more impact there? Is it a Brazilian community or another community?
I mean, I'd say we probably had the most impact with the Brazilian community just because that's sort of where our strength lies right now. But again, with the constant changing face of Hyannis and the people that are coming in, I'm really trying. I would love to be able to hire somebody who also speaks Creole. So I'm
Asian Creole?
Yeah.
Okay, we've had in Creole or Asian Creole.
Well, at this point, Haitian Creole.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's tons of Creole.
Yeah.
But just in terms of who directly I'm getting in the space, and as much as I have an endless capacity to come up with ideas for things, but I have a very limited budget, and my staff has only so much capacity themselves. I can't just be like, oh, we're going to do this other thing. And be like, and they're like, wow, I need to sleep.
Okay. What's your dream? How do you wanna see the Hyannis Library for the next 5-10 years?
I want to see that new building, and I want to see how the community explores all the things that they can do in that new building. I would like to find new ways of connecting people to information. One of the things I've been thinking about is what I might call a social services librarian, somebody who focuses on knowing where all of the different social services are, what they offer, where people should go to get information, keeping it up to date, making sure that the contacts and the links for those organizations are up to date and relevant. Facilitating organizations coming to the library for scheduled visits so they can interact with people in our space, because people are at the library. The library is a stigma-free, neutral space to go. There's nobody's going to make fun of you for going to the library.
So how did you come out with this idea? Do you think that the community need more information about library? Community is so far from library. How did you figure out that we need more social program like that?
It's not so much that they need to know about libraries. It's just that it's very difficult when there are so many organizations that tend to be a little bit siloed in what they do, for the general person to navigate it on their own and to know where to go. And there's so many intersecting needs that people have. You may be unhoused, but you also may need, you may be food insecure, and you also may not speak English. Yeah. So we get a lot of information from these groups, but in order to have a whole package and to be able to get the right information to people, they may not know where to go. Plus, a lot of them have there's comprehensive websites, but if you're not very good at navigating websites, that's not going to help you. So librarians are trusted, and librarians can, the whole point of it is to make sure that information is correct and it's up to date, and you don't leave without a next step. So I think that's important.
Let's go talk about little bit more about you. So I know that you love dance.
I do.
We talk about that. How did you fall in love with the dance?
Well, I've been dancing since I was 3. Formally dancing since I was 3. Yeah. And it's basically just, it's like a fifth limb.
Somebody motivated you, or you just is it something that you're born with that?
Yeah. Well, my mother enrolled me in a dance class at 3, and I kept doing it. And even when I didn't like it, she kept making me do it. I don't like being told what to do. That's kind of a part of my nature. So being in a dance class, you get told what to do. You have to be pretty, especially ballet.
Okay. So which style are you familiar with? Is it ballet or
I'm familiar with
hip-hop or which style?
We have a different style. Is amazing. I'm just a natural at hip-hop. No, I am not. I've studied ballet, modern, tap, jazz, African, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
I've done ballroom dancing. Afro-Brazilian dance.
Capoeira, something like that.
Well, I haven't really ventured into capoeira yet, but I have a couple of good friends who are capoeira dance artists, and
Capoeira is a dance and the fight is the same.
yes, exactly. And that's probably like exactly what I need, because that's what my personality. But yes, I haven't quite ventured into capoeira.
Okay, what does dance mean in your life?
There are some things that I can't express in words or in writing, and in order to get them out and to communicate, I have to do it with my body. And it's almost like breathing for me. That's just part of who I am. It's my art, basically.
Okay. Do you have any project in dance or something like that? Or?
I am part of a Cape-based company called Movimento. The artistic directors, one of them is Brazilian, and we tend to work in the summer because we don't have a year-round rehearsal facility. But we bring dancers up from Brazil as well, and we work together and create new works every year and perform various places on Cape, including Wellfleet Preservation Hall, Cape Cod Theatre Company, Harwich Junior Theatre, and Thatcher Hall in Yarmouth, and we're always looking for new places to perform. We've performed at the Harbour Overlook for the town of Barnstable, and it's pretty special.
Okay, but you never think about to become a professional dancer, like making money with that? And
I don't think I really had the constitution for that. There's a lot of rejection. And it's part of why
what kind of rejection?
Rejection? Yeah. Well, you have to audition all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was really cut out for that kind of life. It's the same with academic science. I did not enjoy, academic science is rigorous as it should be.
Yeah.
But when you work that hard on something and then to have somebody try to tear it apart, it was very hard for me to be okay with myself. I felt like a failure. So that's why I thought, I need to be a consensus builder or collaborative person, or work towards having people understand something rather than, just deal with this constant competition, as it were, all the time. I'm just not competitive by nature, and I'm not, I'm not well equipped to be criticized all the time. So something less, life and death, I guess.
I don't know. Do you speak another language? Because Canada is a
What, you didn't think my Portuguese was fabulous? Je peux parler français. Un peu.
Un peu? Okay. What kind of people do you like be surrounded?
I like to be surrounded by creative people. I like to be surrounded by people who are very loving. And I like to be surrounded by people who are really looking for answers to situations, rather than just complaining about something, but coming up with an idea, like, what if we tried? People who like to brainstorm. Yeah.
Okay. People, the another generation have been complaining about the new generation. What do you think about it? Do you think a new generation, they don't face the problem serious like our or your generation?
I don't think they face them the same way, but why should they?
Nice question.
Yeah.
Great question.
So I don't. I have multiple generations working for me. And sometimes we're a little bit like, what do you mean you're not going to just, work for 60 hours? Well, is that a good thing? No.
Yeah.
But I don't have that.
Okay. And do you have a favorite food?
One of my favorite foods is pizza, if you can believe it, because you just...
What kind of pizza? Chicken pizza or what kind of pizza?
All sorts of pizza. Okay. I make a good pizza with gorgonzola and brie, or gorgonzola and pear and caramelized onions. But I'm also down for, hamburger pizza, or I love pizza.
Wow.
It's not like I don't like other things, but whenever I think about that, I'm like, pizza.
Okay. I have a last question for you. Everybody will die one day. unfortunately. So when
Speak for yourself.
when you die, how do you want your community, all community, friends and family remember you?
So I've had this plan for quite some time, decades and decades, that I was going to get a black onyx grave marker with a sleeping cat on it that has one eye open. And on the front of the tombstone, it'll say, "Here lies Antonia. They found everything but her head."
Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay.
I mean, think about it. If you came into a cemetery and saw that, like, you'd be like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Will be. Okay. Antonia, thanks for coming. Okay. So do you want to deliver the last message for somebody that to help Hyannis library, to donation something?
Well, I mean, I'd
Feel free
always
to do that.
accept donations, but what I'd really like is for people to come visit, especially if you've never been before. Bring
Yeah.
a friend, come see what we have, get a library card, just be part of the community. It's amazing.
Exactly. Okay. Then thank you, Antonia, for coming and share your thoughts with us and give us grateful information about library, about new project, library project. Thank you again.
You're welcome.